said it was cataracts, I was much less. I thought it was going to be something other than cataracts. Yeah, I didn't know it was eye surgery, but I mean that's not nothing, but it's not bad. Have you had cataract surgery yet? Have you? Yeah. She got the eyes of a 50-year-old.
It's all them vegetables and potatoes. She don't eat that pork like we do.
Like you. That's a chicken lady right there. Boston market.
Oh, Lord, no. Not, now, the chicken in Boston Market might be all right, but them vegetables, oh, my God. They the non-cookingest vegetable people in the world.
If you had vegetables in Boston market, they eat like Gladys. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. We were just talking about chicken and vegetables, and I'm sorry you missed that part of the conversation. It would have been very helpful to you. We were talking about one of our members and friends who is the queen of good health and happens to be a vegetarian, and there was this dispute. I had to break it up. I'm glad I didn't have to. It wasn't a real fight between the two of them. The one who wants chicken and one who just wants potatoes and greens. But we made it, and here you are, and here we are, and I'm glad we're all here together. It's a good night for us to be together while the moon is full and all kind of stuff that doesn't always go on goes on right now. Let us pray tonight with this full moon outside. Gracious God, our Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day and for the privilege that allows us to assemble in your house and in your name and to call ourselves your servants, your children. We are grateful to you for your loving kindness and for your tender mercies and for all the ways that you bless us as you keep us going on. Bless even now these moments that we share, that as we examine your word together tonight, we would grow closer together and closer to you as we seek to be your servants, disciples, followers of the Lamb. In the name of Christ, our Savior and Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we've been in the book of Judges for a minute, and we have come to the part where we, last week, were introduced to the 13th judge, the last of the judges, Samson, maybe the most famous of the judges. Some people might say Gideon is a famous judge, but most people who don't know anything at all about Gideon know something about Samson, the strong man, Samson, the Hebrew Superman. What would, if you were to describe the attributes of a Superman, what would Superman be like in your estimation, in your imagination? I know that Shaquille O'Neal called himself Superman and had a Superman thing under his jersey, and there was another basketball player who's now with the Lakers, Dwight Howard, called himself Superman, and he had a cape and everything. But what would Superman be like in your description? What is a Superman? Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound? Faster than a locomotive? It's faster than a speeding bullet and more powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings. What is Superman in your estimation?
There is no.
Yeah, but okay, so there is no Superman, but what would it take for a man to be super? What would he have to be? What would he have to be like in order to be legitimately described as a Superman?
I would think he would have to be strong, intelligent. Basically.
So Cornelius talks about physical attributes. He'd have uncommon strength, stronger than most other men, stronger than every other man, and then he'd have an intellectual capacity that was incredible, so that he'd be smarter than most other people. Anything else? Tough? Okay, well, I don't know the difference between tough and strong. Sheila said realist. Fearless. Fearless. Okay, he's not afraid of anything, anyone. I'm so surprised that we having this conversation in church and nobody talks about his spiritual prowess. Nobody talks about his standing in God, in Christ. Nobody talks about any spiritual gifts that a Superman might hold. Samson is described in our culture much of the time as a Superman, mostly because of his physical strength, but perhaps only because he was one of the judges, the 13th among the judges, because of his relationship to God and his responsibility for the people of God. He was a judge. He was a man whose coming was expected, and over whose life certain decisions were made. He would be a Nazirite. His mother made a commitment before God, before the birth of Samson, what kind of man Samson would be. And so that's again a surprise to me that in the conversation about Superman and about Samson, y'all didn't say anything about his spiritual thing. But we're going to think about why that didn't come up as we go through the course of this conversation tonight. Samson. We're talking about chapter 14. We finished, I think, last week chapter 13, and we find ourselves at the entrance of chapter 14. Say that again. Yeah, I want to talk about the first four verses. What's the difference between a person of faith and a faithful person? A person of faith and a faithful person. Is there a difference?
Yes.
What's the difference? Get your microphone, Reverend.
The difference between a person of faith and a faithful person. A faithful person is a person that a person of faith is a person that stretch out on situations that they don't see the results of. So although they don't see the answer, they still believe it's going to happen. That's a person of faith. But a faithful person is a person that is dependable, given to, regardless of the situation, you can depend on that person to be wherever they need to be.
Okay. Anybody else have a position on if there is a difference between a person of faith and a faithful person? Would you describe Samson as a person of faith or a faithful person, or neither?
Or both.
Or both. Gladys said both. A person of faith and a faithful person. He's a person of faith because why, Reverend?
Because he believed God. And he didn't look at the situation. He looked beyond his limitations and looked to God. He was a faithful person because he was dependent. God could depend on him. Was dependent.
Now, in order to come to that conclusion, you have to consider Samson's whole life. Because because for his whole life, he was kind of jibbity-jibbity. He was in and out. Sometimes he was this person of faith who Gladys describes, and sometimes he was a faithful person who Gladys described. But his life was a life of unevenness. Read those first 4 verses, if you will. The voice.
Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. His father and mother replied, isn't that an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She's the right one for me.
Oh, my. I go ahead.
His parents did not know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines, for at the time they were ruling over Israel.
There's a Jamaican Japanese tennis player, Osaka, what? Somebody, Osaka. Is that her last name or her first name? I should know this. A tennis player, yeah. And I was talking about Osaka to Carla a couple of nights ago, and I said, it's really surprising to me that the Japanese people are as accepting. Matter of fact, they're not downright accepting. They boast of Osaka as a Japanese person. Now, her father's Jamaican. Her father's black, and her mother's is Japanese, but she's a star, and so she's celebrated. But I'm looking at some of my brothers who I know have spent some time in the Far East, and they know that interracial relationships are frowned upon. Asian women, Asian families, Asian fathers and mothers don't want their children to be married to people who are not Asian. So you don't want certainly not a black person, and not an American person. So that in Vietnam and in Japan and in Korea, often these interracial relationships are frowned upon. They are like the people who are described in this text. Samson's parents say to Samson, can't you find a black girl somewhere? All these black women that existed, there are more black women without partners than there are black men, and you can't find one black woman? That wasn't what it really was, but I'm just trying to hook you up. A woman out of your own culture, out of your own group, and Samson defied his parents and chose another woman. He said, I found the one I like, and that's the one I want. Go get her for me. He breaks the 4th commandment. He refuses to honor his father and mother. I had another conversation with somebody a few days ago. It may have been my sister, who you know, about honoring your father and mother, that your days may be long. I've always, when I use that commandment talking to my own children, to remind them that I might take them out, to honor your father and mother, so that I don't break your neck. So that Samson defies his parents, who would prefer that he not marry an outsider, that he marry a woman of his own race and culture, a woman who was like them and like him. And so here is a man who comes with the kind of promise that he does from his mother's womb, who prayed for him, who begged for him, who finally gives birth to him, and who names him child of the sun, of the S-U-N. I said to Lisa last week after our conversation in this room about Lisa's sister, we call Sunny, and that's what I've known her for as long as I've known Lisa. I've known Sunny, and I said I wonder if her parents, since their family name is Sampson, called her sister Sunny because her name means sunny. Lisa said, no, they call her that because she's yellow. And they do. But the names come to people for different reasons, and we assign them in different circumstances. But this man who comes a child of the sun with great expectations because of the promises that his parents have made concerning the life that he will live, and the things that they anticipate will come from this man. And so we kind of skip a lot of years between chapter 13 and chapter 14, because by the time we get to chapter 14, Samson is old enough to be looking for a wife. And so he says to his parents, I found the one I want. When I do premarital stuff, often, and I talk to people about the selection of brides, grooms, and bridesmaids, I remind them of the ancient traditions of brides, grooms, and bridesmaids. If the bride had to be stolen from a neighboring community, if the bride had to be captured, then the bridegrooms would be the men who would help the groom to go into the neighboring camp and snatch his bride away and protect her and keep her for the groom. The bridesmaids would be the women whose assignment was to attend to them, to make sure that they were prepared, they were bathed right and dressed right and perfumed right for a presentation to the bridegroom on the occasion of the marriage. Imagine that kind of picture in the times of Samson. Samson picks a woman from outside his community. And this woman outside his community has to be somehow either purchased by his father, who gives a dowry for this woman, or captured, stolen from the place where she is and brought by force to be Samson's wife. Samson's parents disapproved of Samson's choice. So in making this choice, Samson breaks the commandment that calls for him to honor his parents, that his days might be long upon the earth. In this century, the 21st century, there are people who still argue against interracial, intercultural relationships, and people who still say that there's something wrong with marrying outside, so to speak, of your own culture or your own group. My screen just died. It scared me too. Yeah, outside of your own group. What reasons would make interracial, intercultural marriages inappropriate?
Having been down this road, I'd say because both sides, well, I haven't married interracial, but I've dated, and both sides don't accept you. Her side don't accept you. His side don't accept you. So generally it just makes them come together even more because all they got is each other.
Okay. All right. Yes, Reverend.
Many times what happens is it's a culture, the culture differences. And if you're really not familiar with that person's culture, what that person believes, it's almost like being equally yoked because you know what they believe. And so if two people are coming totally from two different cultures, it makes it very difficult for, say, take for instance, one culture believed and was taught from day one that you say grace before you eat anything. And the other culture was, hey, here your food, go eat. So it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. So the little things like that will divide them because they came from two different worlds.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
who that? Al?
oh, I was just going to say, for religious purposes, the difference between maybe two religions might cause conflicts. Will probably cause conflicts as well, and which would have to do with the rearing of children and which way each person would want to take them in their beliefs.
And certainly it's true in Samson's case, because there are differences in dietary restrictions. The Jews have some very specific dietary laws, and to invite into a married relationship someone whose dietary understanding is different is to it's like an American marrying a Korean. There are some differences in the kinds of things that are normal, so to speak, in the diets for the two different groups. And so getting together is a task. It might even be a chore. And that's one of the basic things for being together. After that becomes another perhaps more basic thing, and that is the perspective on a religious perspective. So that in the case of Samson, Samson's notion of God is clear, but the notion of God in the mind of a wife of a different culture is a different thing. And as Gladys says, it's destined for conflict. It can hardly help but cause some distance in the family, some disconnect in the family. So Samson's parents have this vision, and maybe it helps us to appreciate some of the difficulties that occur in interracial or intercultural relationships even in this time, when some people like rice and beans and some people like beans and rice. What you say, Reverend?
And I said exactly, and what we were talking about earlier, some people just want to eat pork, or, eat that meat. But what I was thinking about, in some cultures, they believe that women are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Right.
But in our culture, that don't work,
Well, we say we say that we say that, we just don't do it. we talk about submissive wives and all that stuff, but then we say, now, baby, the Bible says you're supposed to be submissive too now. So I'm not the only submissive one. You're supposed to be submissive too. Yeah, that's true. And cultural differences place demands on relationships that are not always obvious when individuals find themselves attracted to each other, and they happen to be from different cultures. And so it's a topic that has to be dealt with. And in the interest of trying to keep Samson straight, his parents said, man, that's not what you really want. Can't you find somebody? So, of all these Jewish women, you can't find one Jewish woman who suits your fancy. And Samson said, no, I'm good. I found her. I found her, and that's the one right there. And so he finds himself dishonoring, as far as that goes, his parents, because he decides that that picking this woman does not dishonor his parents, even though they object to it. I wonder, what would it look like if you were to dishonor your parents? What would it look like if a child, what does a dishonoring child do that is dishonoring of his parent?
Talk back.
Al said it dishonors the parents when a child talks back to his parents. I think that means when the parent says, do this, and the child says, why? Or a child says, no.
I would think more of a physical confrontation would be dishonoring your parents.
Yeah. So to fight your daddy would be dishonorable. Yeah. Might be disastrous too. Depending on who you are. What does disrespect look like?
Disrespecting. Okay, to me, disrespecting your parents is not wanting to listen to what they say. You have your own, you have your own opinion, and, you just totally disregard them, whatever they say.
Cursing at your parents would be disrespectful.
Yeah, but to disagree, Sheila says it's disrespectful. Am I right?
Well, it's a way of, to me, I look at it as a way of handling the situation. The way that you can disrespect your parents altogether in the way that the things that you say to them or whatever.
Yeah, Cornelius says it's a way of the way you talk to them in your disagreement. That's disrespectful. So that having an opinion that's different from your parents' opinion, is that disrespectful in and of itself? Go ahead, Reverend.
Well, see, in our era, when I came up, when I came up, it was, you didn't have an opinion.
Let me tell you what your opinion is.
Exactly. And if that was totally disrespectful, if your parent told you to do something and you didn't do it, when you went to school or wherever, they would let you know that you're representing this family. So you honor your name, you honor who you are. And to honor is to follow the rules of the house at all times, whether they dare or not. But in today's society, because the world has changed so, coming to whether you're going to, if you tell a child something today's society is saying, oh, you can listen to their opinion. So you have this discussion between a parent and a child, a 5-year-old child. This deep conversation is going, why I don't want to go to bed tonight at 7 o'clock. When I came up,
Glad it started that conversation to put the microphone down.
I understand what Reverend Falco said because I heard it a few times. Boy, you going out here acting like you ain't got no home training.
Yeah. So is Samson disrespectful of his parents when Samson says, this is my choice, and the parents say, we disapprove of your choice? Is Samson, is he breaking the vow? Is he breaking the fourth commandment that says, honor your father and mother that your days may be long upon the earth? Is he breaking the commandment when they say, this is what we prefer, and he says, I don't care, this is what I choose. Go get this woman for me. You don't think so?
I would say in this case, yes, because previously in the chapters we read that Samson's father asked the angel of the Lord how they should rear him and so forth. And the angel sat down and gave them straight line, this is what you should do, this is how the child can raise, and all of this. And they tried to follow those rules, but now that Samson's a man, they can't make him do those things.
Ah, that's interesting. Let's read verses 5 through 9.
Samson went down to Timnah together with his father and his mother. As they approached the vineyards of Timnah, suddenly a young lion came roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his mother nor his father what he had done. Then he went down and talked with the woman, and he liked her. Sometime later, when he went back to marry her, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass, and in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass.
What do you see? What do you see in these verses?
He broke his Nazarite vow,
What was
for one
the vow?
thing, not to touch a dead body.
All right. Anything else? So, how many dimensions of the vow does he need to break in order to break the vow? Just one. So if he didn't do anything else wrong, he did this. Now, some of us will conclude that because of his behavior, he insisted that his parents join him in this thing that of which they disapproved, but was in his desire. And so they persisted. He persisted, and they said, "Okay, let's go." They went to Timnah together. And how is a man able to kill a lion with his hands, with his bare hands? How many men you know?
Only through God.
Why you say that?
Because the only other people I know kill lions are
Because the text says it.
tribe in Africa.
The text says it. The text says the Spirit of God came upon him, and he tore the lion apart as he would have torn a goat apart. Now, I don't know if I could beat a goat. I think I probably could, a little goat. But a lion, he tears apart the lion. What does the lion represent in your imagination? Samson is on his way to pick up this woman, and of whom his parents disapprove. And while he's on his way, a lion comes out, and the lion threatens him. and he manages to tear the lion to pieces. What do you imagine? What do you see in this story? God has a way of sending before us the things that will obstruct our progress toward our own destruction. And often, it is in our capacity to defeat the thing that God would place in our path to keep us from our own destruction. Had Samson responded to the lion's roar? You ever heard a lion roar? Oh, man. Had Samson responded to the lion's roar, Samson would have fled. He would have run. And perhaps he never would have married this woman because there was this obstacle and obstruction blocking the way between he and the woman that he chose. Sometimes it happens that when we make choices that will be destructive for us, choices that will not be productive for us, choices that will be bad for us, these are doors that God has a way of closing. But we tend, whenever we decide, to beat open the doors that God closes, so that the thing that from which we might be protected, if we said, you know what, God closes this door and I'm not supposed to open it. But if you open that door, you might not like what you get on the other side. Knowing the whole story of Samson, we know that had he chosen a different wife, perhaps his whole life would have been different. But he does this. He makes this choice of which his parents disapproved, and he finds himself facing a lion, and he destroys the lion. But that wasn't the worst part of it. We can't tell how much time had passed, but we know that it was enough time for the lion's carcass to be picked clean by the birds, and for the bees to build a hive and begin to make honey. So that much time has passed, and Samson passes this way looking at his victory. He said, I remember that body right there. I killed that lion right there. Here he is remembering his own proverbial victory. And the carcass of the lion is there to remind him. And he sees it there. And in it, he sees honey. He has a vow not to touch any dead thing. And he breaks his vow, and he touches a thing that is dead. He touches the body of the lion. He scoops out the honey, and he eats some, and he gives some to his parents. And if nothing else from this image, what we learn is what you call those people, the 12-step people, Alcoholics Anonymous teach about staying away from stuff that you know you can't deal with. I've told you the story before about my church member who couldn't stay away from prostitutes, and the one who couldn't stay away from the liquor store. So when his wife sent him to the store for bread, instead of going to 7-Eleven, he went to the store where they sell in New Jersey. They sell liquor and bread in the same store. So he could have gone to 7-Eleven or to Food Lion where they didn't sell liquor. But when she sent him to the store, he went to the liquor store. And when he asked me about it, I said, you can't buy your candy in a liquor store. He went for something benign, bread. The bread wasn't going to be a problem for him. But because he wanted what else they sold, he went to a place where he willfully went in temptation's way, and he put himself in temptation's way. Samson could have avoided the honey, but the appeal of the honey, the attraction of the honey was too much. He could not resist the honey, even though the honey was in the carcass of a dead animal, and he knew he wasn't supposed to touch the dead animal. This is a man who doesn't have a problem with all the stuff that his mama said he wasn't supposed to do. Maybe he said that my mama said I wasn't going to do that, not me. And so he commits this thing. He cannot resist avoiding the thing that he should avoid. What do you want to say, Cornelius?
Now, that was disrespectful to his parents, scooping honey out of the dead carcass and giving it to him and not telling him.
Yeah. Not only, So his mother had been told, while she was pregnant at least, not to touch any dead thing. Here's a man that the trip to where he's headed takes him through a grape orchard. So he's going past the wine place. He's not supposed to drink any wine. So that he puts himself in harm's way. He places himself where he can easily be tempted and led astray. Wow. I didn't know what that was. That was our air conditioner coming on, if you could hear that from where you are. Scared everybody in the room. So he puts himself in danger by going through the orchard. If you ain't supposed to have anything to do with grapes, you're not supposed to have anything to do with wine. The vineyard is the wrong place for you to be. And yet, that's where Samson was. And in the vineyard, he finds himself getting himself into trouble. And it was a problem for him. Let's do 10 through 18.
Now his father went down to see the woman, and there Samson held a feast, as was customary for young men. When the people saw him, they chose 30 men to be his companions.
Those the groomsmen.
Let me tell you a riddle, Samson said to them. If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. Tell us your riddle, they said. Let's hear it. He replied, out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. For 3 days, they could not give the answer. On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, coax your husband into explaining
Talk him into
riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property? Then Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, you hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer. I haven't even explained it to my father or my mother, he replied. So why should I explain it to you? She cried the whole 7 days of the feast. So on the 7th day, he finally told her because she continued to press him. She, in turn, explained the riddle to her people. Before sunset on the 7th day, the men of the town said to him, what is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Samson said to them, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle.
All right. What happened? See, you can't tell it from the way Cornelius read. I need some dramatic performers to make it plain. But Cornelius kind of read it like vanilla. He didn't have any chocolate or strawberry and nothing in it. But I think you get the idea. What happened in this story in these verses?
He broke another Nazarite vow.
What was the vow?
He had a feast, and I'm sure they were drinking and stuff at the feast, and he ain't supposed to be drinking.
Okay, but there's nothing in the text that says that.
Okay.
But what happened in the vow? What happened here? Samson has made this commitment, and now he's toying with his parents and toying with everybody else, and really disrespecting and toying with the vows that he has made concerning his behavior. And so there's this game between Samson and Miss Samson that they play, and Cornelius didn't sound much like Miss Samson, who begs her husband, said, I can't believe you put me out here like that. I can't believe you gave them a riddle and you know the answer and I don't even know what the answer is. You make me look stupid. You make me look like you playing me in front of them. I'm so embarrassed. You get the sense of that? Yes. As Miss Sampson says to Mr. Sampson, I can't believe you treated me this way. And so she weeps. And you know a man can't do nothing when a woman weeps, right? Is that right?
Melt like butter.
Yeah, it's usually true that if a woman cries, then the man Cornelius says he melts like butter. And so she does what she can do to entice her husband to reveal the truth that he knows, so that here's that intercultural thing. Her people, she calls them my people, don't know that. My people don't know what the answer is. You gave us a riddle, and my people don't know what you're talking about. Now, whose side is she on? Is she on Samson's side, or is she on the side of her people?
Family.
Come on, Reverend.
Well, when you look closely at the whole text, you have to look at where it started.
Where did it start, Reverend? Where did it start? Come on with it.
See, she really wasn't. They had told her that they were going to kill her family, burn their house down. So that was the reason why she was crying for all these days, because she wanted to save herself and her family and her dad and her mama. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they had threatened her. They had threatened her. So you have to do what you have to do they're going to burn everything down. They're going to kill your mama and your daddy, and then they're going to kill you. So there your husband is, sitting there with the answer that he hasn't even told you. You know, where she can save everybody. But you can't, you have to look at why she was doing what she was doing.
Which goes back to the question about intercultural relationships. When it comes to that, sometimes you end up making a choice based on reasons that everyone won't understand or appreciate.
She shouldn't have been afraid, though. She should have just said, I'm going to tell Superman what they said they were going to do, and he'll take care of it, and let him handle it.
But Superman was the problem. Superman was the problem. Superman was the one who gave the riddle. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Superman was the problem. See, Superman was going around telling his parents what to do. And where I see anywhere, she really cared for her parents, and she had feelings, so she was, I think, her really bringing up, you know, she really respected her parents.
Yes, yeah. Samson has some character flaws.
Yeah.
Even,
Other than the most obvious one, yes.
even Superman couldn't stand that woman crying for 7
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. And so she if she had to cry 8 days, she'd have cried 8 days. If she had 8 days to cry, but he told him that's how much time he gave him. So she wept and pleaded and did what Gladys said she needed to do in order to get him in. Now, her task is to save her family. That's what she wants to do. That's what she needs to do. So crying is one thing that she can do to change Samson's point of view. And if crying doesn't work, then she needs a different strategy for trying to persuade him to change his mind so that her family continues to live. So here's this man who makes up his mind that what he's going to do is give them this riddle, and he offers this riddle, which I say is the thing that reminds us how important it is to watch your mouth. You got to watch what you say. He lays out this riddle, and in the riddle is a threat. It has consequences. What you say has consequences. You can't, if you say something, it means something, and it can have positive or negative effects or results. And so you can't say everything that comes to your mind. You can't play. Samson's he's playing a game with these people. It's this riddle. Tell you what, if you can guess, you know, what's dead that comes out of, what's alive that comes out of the dead, or how the riddle went. He gives them this riddle, and there's a prize that goes along with either solving the riddle or not. If they solve it, they win. If they don't solve it, he wins. And so he's put out there something that has consequences. And so it's not wise, as we learn from this lesson, to say whatever comes to your mind, or to play with people concerning serious, eternal concerns. This is not a game that he plays, but it seems like a game to him. And so he says what's on his mind. And he leaves these people wringing their hands and shaking their heads for a week and worrying about whether they will live or die because of what Samson has done.
And you see what he called his wife?
What did he call his wife?
He called his wife a heifer.
A heifer.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
His wife. You know.
Read that verse. That's the 18th, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Verse 18.
Yes.
I'm waiting for Lorna.
Oh.
Read it without Lorna, Cornelius.
If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle.
Yeah, you got the answer right, but the reason you got the answer right was you used my wife against me. Now Gladys's problem with it is it's kind of pejorative. He disrespects his wife by with this metaphor. You plow with my heifer and solve the riddle. You used my wife against me. And Gladys don't like that. She don't like the language. So the truth of it is that he says in much less complimentary language. You used my wife against me, and if you had not done that, you broke the rules. Of course, I don't remember that as a rule where they couldn't use his wife when he said that, but he says this, and Gladys has taken some exception to him. But we've already made some statements about the character of this man. Most of the time, when we tell stories about the life of Samson, they're all positive. All the stuff we say about Samson, they usually we start with his strength at the beginning, and we end usually with him tearing down the walls of the temple and killing his idolatrous opponents. But it's that stuff in between. and that's what our lives are like. It's most people make a great beginning. Most people make a great start. And many have a great ending. But it's that stuff in between that requires so much attention.
Start off fully believing in God.
How many people, maybe you, were that person who began your Christian journey with a big old cross on your chest and a big old Bible under your arm, and talking about how you were going to bring down the devil's strongholds. And it lasted for a while. And then you ain't got no Bible, no cross, and you ain't bringing down no strongholds. You ain't bringing down nothing.
Bottle of Jack.
Oh, thank you. And you look at his riddle, he was really speaking about himself. Indirectly, he was boasting about himself.
What's the riddle say, Reverend? Lorna?
The riddle says, out of something, out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet.
And so here, he's speaking about what he did. Because out of the eater,
that's the lion who would have eaten him.
Exactly. Came something sweet. That's the bear. That's the honey.
The honey,
That's the honey.
Right.
From the strong
lion again
came something sweet. The lion. So he's really trying to tell them, I'm Superman. Because this is what I did, and as a result of me killing this lion, something sweet came out of the lion's carcass.
Let's go ahead and read the 19 and 20.
Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went down to Ascalon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of everything, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home. And Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended him at the feast.
Oh, my. Yeah. He lost his temper. He never believed that anyone would solve the riddle. And when they solved the riddle, here comes Samson with sour grapes. And that's Lorna's image of Samson's sour grapes having been duped. He thought he had it made. He thought that he had outsmarted the people who he was dealing with, but he had not outsmarted them at all. And in the end, ended up a loser where he thought he would be a winner. It happens that way. If you dig one ditch, you better dig two. The trap you set just might be for you. so that when you you set out to mislead or take advantage of someone else, there's a very good chance, a good possibility that, as Sheila said, it will backfire on you, and so it did on Samson. The thing that he thought, he thought so much of himself. This is another expression of the character of Samson. Samson thought a lot of himself. He was strong. Cornelius said he was smart, and he was anointed. He was blessed before he was born, and he came up to this point in his life throwing his weight around. But when he began to throw his weight around, he discovered that it did not end in this instance like he thought it would end. And often that's the case. When you throw your weight around, you gotta just make sure you got enough weight to throw around. Yes, sir.
It kind of looks like Samson, all this stuff went to his head. Maybe his parents told him about the angel and him being a Nazarite, and I think it went to his head. Imagine him. I know. Let's think about Stokely, because you can't think about you. Imagine if you were that good looking and strong, and strong and smart, and you had everything going for you. You had a great job, and you were highly respected on your job. Everybody thought a lot of you. If you were in a position like that, it could easily just get in your head, and you start believing the stuff that people say about you. But if you remember, I've told you more than once, everything people say about you ain't true. The good thing is, neither the good stuff they say about you nor the bad stuff they say about you ain't true. What you got to know is what really is true about you, no matter what they say. And so all the stuff they said about Samson, all the stuff they say about you, all the stuff they say about me, I got to have sense enough to know, and I do know what's real and what's not real. And so when you get a pat on your back, kind of let it slide off a little bit, because all that all that patting on the back, you know the other part that nobody knows but you. Samson, it seems, didn't know that part. So they patted Samson on the back, and when things didn't end up the way Samson thought they should end up, he got mad, and he ended up even losing his wife, because his father ended up giving his wife to somebody else. Next week, we're going to figure out why his father gave away Samson's wife after this thing, and that's in the next lesson in chapter 15. Thank you for being a part of our conversation tonight. We look forward to the time when we'll be able to gather again and look at how the book of Judges helps us to make decisions about how we live in this world. Meet us here on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. We'll be very, very, very happy to have you present with us in real life, sitting in the sanctuary or in the parking lot at our drive-in service, or by way of YouTube or Facebook. Anywhere you come, we'll be glad to have you. Thank you for being here tonight. God bless you, and good night.